What's up guys, this is Unbrave Gaming Hardcore and today I'm gonna show you guys another Battlerite champion guide and it's gonna be about Samus, the Destiny, the Sky Ranger. Okay, as usual, I'm gonna explain the skills first and how can you possibly use it in different situations. Then the battle rights or loadouts, I'm gonna explain the best ones to use. Then we're gonna talk about the strengths and weaknesses and of course some of my opinion about the Sky Ranger. Okay, the first skill that we're gonna talk about is your bread and butter, Charge Bolt. This is your main skill and if you always fail on landing this on your opponent, you're not going to be a decent Sky Ranger. Because this is your main damaging skill and also silences your enemies. So if you're having trouble on aiming your charge bolt, keep practicing on a training ground because this is your most important DPS skill and failing on this means you fail on the damaging side of things. You can also use this in combination with one of your skills called Mega Sphere. Since we're talking about Mega Sphere, let's jump right on it and I'll explain it. Basically, Mega Spear is an ability that requires one energy bar. It launches an energy spear when hit with your normal attack or charge bolt, causes a massive explosion, and the damage is determined on what attack you use to make it explode. And it also snares and silences the enemy if you use the charge bolt to detonate it. So when you use your normal attack, it will only deal 30 area damage and inflict only fading snare, and 46 to 54 damage with silence if you use charge bolt. I would like to add that they should rebalance this because when used properly with charge bolt, you can easily say that it's like an ultimate skill. Look at this filthy overpowered stuff. Look at that.
The Blaster Master strikes again. The Blaster Master strikes again.
Anyways, let's jump on the next skill, which is Power Blaster. This is your normal attack. This is pretty self-explanatory. You can use this to poke your enemy or detonate Mega Sphere. The next skill would be Magnetic Orb, which turns you into a ball with more movement speed and gives you one chance to bump an enemy, just one nudge for 16 damage and knockback. Now this skill is your hit and run skill. So basically bump your enemy to push them back and get sufficient distance and continue attacking. Or you could either use this to chase an enemy with low HP and give them that Pokeball hit to catch them. Now the next skill is Sky Strike. You can use this to counter a melee or a ranged attack, and countering an attack launches you into the sky and fires an area attack. Now I just wanna say that you can't counter area attacks like Freya's ulti, Rook's ulti, Sirius ulti, and much more. So learn from fighting other champions because there's a lot that you can't counter. The next skill would be Plasma Ball, which is an ability that deploys a beam of ball that stops incoming ranged attack and snare enemies that passes through it. Now this skill is better used as a trap. I'll explain it later in the loadout part of this guide. The next skill is Transform Weapon, which transforms your weapon to its defensive form. So basically you get a shield by activating it, and when you hit an enemy or an ally you gain bonus shield. And it also gives your ally shield, so yeah, defensive stuff. You can use this to save an ally from an attack. Now this skill can also be your last resort if your Magnetic Orb encounter is on cooldown. So yeah, you will trade hits with your enemy until either Magnetic Orb or counter is ready. Keep that in mind because that can save you in a tough spot. The next skill would be Lockdown. Basically, it's a circle prison that when an enemy exits the circle, they get stunned. To be honest with you guys, this is not worth it because it needs one energy bar and Plasma Ball doesn't require energy. With proper Battlerite, will also deal 6 damage and roots the enemy. So this is pointless stuff. The last skill is Pinball, your ultimate skill, which turns you into a ball that launches you forward for 40 damage and bounces through walls then deal more damage. That is if you hit again. Now this skill is hard to prep, but when set up right, can deal massive damage. I do acknowledge that most of the time there is a lot of lucky bounces. Look at this. This is a good example. You don't get to tell me that you intended that. Damn it, that is some lucky shot. Now that we're done with the skills, let's talk about the battle rights or your loadouts. The first Battlerite is Plasma Infusion, which basically increases the distance of Power Blaster when it passes through a Plasma Wall. Don't use this because Plasma Wall is much better used for trapping an enemy, and if you do just that, this Battlerite becomes useless. The second Battlerite is Power Attachment, which adds 2 to 8 damage to your Charge Bolt. As I have said, Charge Bolt is your bread and butter. You always use it, so you might as well increase its damage. So get this will be very helpful. The third Battlerite is System Shock. It adds a bit more silence duration when Charge Bolt successfully interrupts an enemy. As I have said again, Charge Bolt is your main DPS skill, so might as well have it. And I should tell you guys that the additional silence duration can mess up an enemy much more. Have you been subjected to the situation where you wanna use a skill but you can't, and every enemy is on you? This Battlerite increases that pressure even more. I do acknowledge that for some people, the base silence duration of Charge Bolt is enough, which I understand, so it's up to you. But for me, landing Charge Bolt is a must for Destiny, so I always use this. The fourth Battlerite is Dispatch, which basically gives you the ability to jump and push an enemy after turning to a magnetic orb. Well, this Battlerite is only used for its immune to damage state or iframes when you jump. So when you jump, at that state, you are immune to damage. Useful for avoiding certain skills like Croak's ultimate. So you just time it just right to avoid receiving damage from Croak's ulti. But that's about it. I don't use this because I rather just lessen the damage by using shield and protecting your teammate that got hit also. But I can see why you would want this because you can also use this to jump through walls. The next Battlerite is Globetrotter, which basically increases the duration and move speed of Magnetic Orb. Don't use this because the distance that Magnetic Orb can travel is enough. You don't need to make it longer, but I did try to use this and it's useful for chasing enemies on the run, but that's about it. Usually the base move speed of Magnetic Orb is enough. The next Battlerite is Violent Revolution. It adds 6 damage and increased knockback by 20% to your Magnetic Orb. This is very useful because you will always find yourself using Magnetic Orb to bump opponents and getting distance. It is also useful on pushing opponents out of the ring and into the vortex and putting pressure on them while they're outside. And yes, I always use this. The next Battlerite is Energy Conversion, which gives you shield that absorbs 12 damage and lasts for about 3 seconds, more or less, but it lasts long enough to absorb damage. This Battlerite is a must, because having that shield after that counter could definitely save you, especially when your Magnetic Orb is on cooldown. The next Battlerite is Blast Processing. This increases your damage and radius of your counter. Use this if you expect to counter more, but I don't recommend this because counter attacks are easily avoided anyway. Now for the 9th Battlerite, which is Lasting Plasma. It adds half a second duration on Plasma Wall and decreases cooldown by 1. Just ignore this, there is little use on this. The 10th Battlerite is Plasma Booster. This one gives Plasma Wall the ability to haste buff allies that passes through it. Now this skill is only useful when your teammate knows that you have this ability, which I tell you right now, most solo queue players don't know, and most of them outright avoid Plasma Wall altogether. So it makes it kinda useless at times, but very useful when you're with a teammate that knows. So keep that in mind. The 11th Battlerite is Sizzle, which adds 6 damage to your Plasma Wall and roots enemies that passes through it. As I have said, Plasma Wall is best used as a trap. This is the reason why I said that, and not to mention Plasma Wall is hard to avoid, and also useful preparation skill for a nice steady charge bolt. So basically you deploy Plasma Wall on top or on the back of your opponents and ready to shoot them down. Number 12 on the Battlerite list is Expansion Pack, which reduces Mega Sphere's cooldown and it adds a bit of Fading Snare. In my opinion, Mega Sphere's cooldown is just right and you don't need this. Plus, prepping a nice well-placed Mega Sphere requires time anyway. The last Battlerite is Transformer, which adds 2 additional bounces to your ultimate skill and turns you into a magnetic orb when the ultimate skill is over. Optional skill, I don't use this. Now that we're done with the Battlerites, let's talk about the strength and weaknesses. First, let's talk about the strengths. One of those is great mobility and defense, because when you manage your cooldown just right, you can easily have answers to whatever the enemy puts in your face. Have you fought a decent Destiny? She's hard to pin down, right? Because that is her strength. Another one of her strength is massive DPS when set up right. And I'm talking about Mega Spear and Pinball. I don't want to elaborate on it much because I already explained why those skills can potentially deal massive damage, especially Mega Sphere. That one is filthy overpowered. Now let's head on to the weaknesses. One of Destiny's weaknesses is the lack of immune state skills or iframes. You can argue that I should just use a Battlerite that lets me jump and gain immunity state for a brief period, but meh, it's a waste of loadout slot. Anyway, it's just my opinion. And the next weakness is I guess we're done with the weaknesses. I can't think of anything anymore. With all that said, what do I think about Destiny? As of right now, Destiny is just right, but only needs some tweaking of damage in her Mega Sphere skill. But aside from that, it's all good. Destiny doesn't require too much skill like Jumong or Varesh. I would definitely put this as a beginner-friendly champion because it's not too complicated and has all the skills needed for almost every situation. It's just up to you, the player. That's it, guys. That's my Destiny champion guide. Hope you guys like it. Please comment down below and share. And this is Andre of Gaming Hardcore. See you in the next one.